got to hang out at Hemsby back in I think '01 with Sanford Clark and his guitarist, of course, Al, and just shoot the shit with them. When did I ever think I'd be able to sit around and do that? Hang with cool people like that. Yeah, have you heard my that 10-inch album I did called Best Rockin' Place?
I don't think I have.
Man, that's the one. Recorded it here about 3 years ago maybe, and put it out in early 2020. So COVID killed any distribution or live playing.
Yeah.
But recorded it live in my drummer's house here in Argentina with a little single track Sony reel-to-reel from 1960, a little tube model. Cool. And I used the little pencil mic that came with it. That was it. With full band with drums and all. And the guitarist, I had him study Sonny Fisher's stuff.
Okay.
From Starday. And he nailed that Joey Longley guitar. And so that's been my benchmark as far as getting the original sound. But now in fact, on Sunday, I'm playing my first show with a new band I've called Sons of Sam, which can, you take that to David Berkowitz or Sam Phillips. And we're just doing all Sun Records songs.
Cool.
And I've really got a great guitarist. He's just only interested in playing the real rudimentary early stuff. So we're doing a lot of Ray Harris and Jimmy D. Barry, things like that. All. And I think we're going to venture out into Starday and then maybe Lou Records, Carl Miller, rhythm guitar type stuff. Just really, very, very primitive. And then I'll start working on some, originals. But we're having a ball. Yeah. We've done one session already, and I've got to send you the fruits of that. I can send that over, WeTransfer or something like that, or WhatsApp. But man, it sounds good because we just recorded it here in the studio, so I could see how close I could come to the Sun sound by recording Sun songs. And I thought, why don't we just do a band with this for now and introduce the masses here to what's real rockabilly, because here people think rockabilly is the Stray Cats.
That's my wife's absolute favorite band. Like, she even has the tattoo, and
oh my,
yeah, like absolutely just adores the Stray Cats. So it's really cool when people who are only used to hearing neo rockabilly get to hear that the honest to God old tin can slapback.
Absolutely. And my thing about that, about rockabilly, a lot of this neo stuff has tons of rock in it, but scarce, if any, billy. Well, you got to have both to get rockabilly. Otherwise, you're just playing rock, or just call it something else, though,
So as far as, obviously you played rockabilly, but also I imagine that, playing country and stuff too, being in Texas, is that the stuff that you very first started off on? Like, at what age?
Yes, I was trying to play when I was 10 or 11, didn't have anybody teach me guitar. Had an old welder that lived about a quarter mile from us in this tiny town of about 300 people, Streetman, Texas. This welder was named Granville Tisdale, and he was an old, everybody considered him an alcoholic and such like that. He was just a cool old guy. So he showed me some chords on the guitar, such like that. And he had made a record back in the late 40s, though, for a local Dallas label. One side was just straight hillbilly mountain lament about a girl that died too young. But the other one was a surprisingly good white blues called Could You Call King Solomon Wise? rare as can be. Well, about 3 months before he died, I was probably about 13 or so, 14 maybe. I might not have been that old. I found a stack of those, like 20 of them in Waco for $1. So I just bought them all and gave him a couple. And then he promptly died of brain cancer. And his wife, when she was young in the 20s, actually knew Blind Lemon Jefferson, who was a customer in their store in Curvin, which is about 10 miles out of Streetman.
Okay.
And she would work in her parents' store, and Lemon's brother Ezekiah would do work for them. And then last time they saw Lemon, he showed up in Curvin with his driver, and he had I think it was a Packard that they were driving, and Lemon carried a pistol, even though he was blind. And, at the time, Ms. Mary, behind the counter, she's about 8 or 9 years old. She would, just for fun, try to shortchange it. And she said Lemon could feel the texture of that bill and say, "No, Miss Mary, no, this is a 1. You got to give me a 10.
Nice. Like, was it Ray
And
Charles?
then a few months later,
paid in 1s, yeah?
Yeah, he was dead a few months after that. He had given her and her family one of his Paramount records.
Yeah.
And she gave that to me. So I was glad to get that. That was a real neat thing.
So you just grabbed a couple, traditional country songs and a chord book?
Yeah, I did that and mostly I listened to Johnny Cash records. My mom was a Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Elvis fanatic.
Yeah. And
Ronnie Self as well. But I could hear, in Johnny's records, I could hear the rhythm guitar clearly, so I figured out how to play that, and then the bass fiddle. And, of course, Luther, being Luther, that was easy enough to pick up at least the rudimentary bits of that.
Yeah.
And that's as far as my lead guitar playing ever, went, was playing Luther type stuff, or just there's too many other good guitar players. Although I had a hard time ever getting a good band together in Texas over the years. Or here I'm like a kid in a candy store, though, in Argentina.
Yeah.
Finding talented musicians.
Oh,
they actually listen. That's weird.
That's got to be cool.
Yes.
I'm always curious when somebody who gets as deep into the really obscure country and rockabilly as you are. What is the thing that really set you on that path? Because there's a million different ways that you can go about finding different music, but it seems not just from what you listen to and your influences and conversations, you really know not just the obscure for the sake of being obscure, but it's obscure but good.
Exactly. In fact, when I was 12, I remember it was the same place I found those Granville Tisdale 78s. They had a record by Sterling Kelly, 45, and his Hearts. Lonely Heart was the name of it. It looked cool, so I paid $0.25 for it. Got home and played it. It's bizarre good. There's 2 versions of it out there. This is the 1959 version, cut in Waco by Sterling Kelly, and it's a country Western swing piano rocker with yodeling, high lonesome yodeling parts. It's impossible to really, and the guy's voice was perfect honky tonk. And it's so lonely and perfect, and that one stuck with me. And it had his home address on the label. So later in life, I went by there, visited with Sterling. He was pretty well, I think, dismembered in a horrific car crash just outside of my dad's area there in Corsicana, Texas, and which was a shame. But, I started then really, really in earnest looking for any of these unknown singers I could find, found Don Willis's bass player, Boppin' High School Baby, that rare satellite record that's legendary in Memphis. And his bass player had like 8 copies of that, posters, fan club materials. And, I've done that probably, 100 times over with different singers and sidemen, promotional people, ex-girlfriends, just anybody I could hit up for memorabilia and records.
Yeah.
And I guess the best one I ever found was Jimmy Haggett, who'd been on Sun and Meteor out of Memphis. And he had kept everything until I got there. And that was probably my crowning glory up until a couple of years ago, and I found an untouched radio station that I was able to get all the records out of, and some pretty good equipment.
Is that how some of the equipment ended up in your studio?
Yes.
Nice.
I've got a Gates Level Devil 58 that my friend Alberto Tello in Austin refurbished for me, and that's my main console. 3 microphones in, one out, and some beautiful tube warmth and a bit of compression. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just warmth. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. It is that genuine organic warmth. And then if you really want to get up on that microphone, you can blow it out. You know?
Yes. Yeah. Digital fractures, analog with tubes just gets hotter. Yeah. A little grainy. But that's it.
I mean, you put the slap back on it, and I mean, it's just as good as steak with a little bit of salt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Got to have that salt in there. Yeah, that's the thing that I hit just recently as I was setting up Freedonia Del Sur here. I was able to figure out on 2 of my tape machines, I think I brought 4 with me, just various types, maybe 5. But I did figure out how to get that slap back like Sun Records was getting.
Nice.
Which was just a major relief for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people, will use digital after the fact with analog, and I just don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You do it with Audacity, and that's fine, but I would know about that. I don't want to, adulterate my stuff just yet.
Well, I mean, you have
Don't get me wrong, adultery is probably all right, but not in my music.
I mean, your studio, it's got the setup to where, you don't need digital delay. You have tape delay.
No. I do have that. And when the guitarists come in, I say, "Did you bring your pedals?" "I sure did." I said, "Good, leave them outside."
And, we has no use for them here.
Well, I've got the perfect guitar amp, probably the best amp I've ever found in my life. Mm-hmm. And it cost me $20, and I've yet to do anything to it other than replace one little automotive type fuse. But it's a 1935 or 36 DeVry theater amplifier. It's a portable, weighs about 60 pounds, but it's a portable theater amplifier. It's the dirtiest thing you'll ever hear. And then I mated it up with a speaker, an old 50s Jensen that had some damage, and I literally cut the cone into ribbons.
Nice.
Until the sound was right. It's pretty.
Oh,
it's the most pretty ugly thing you'll see.
Oh, that's so cool. That's just the kind of genuine stuff that, you just can't buy out of the box.
Exactly.
That's only knowing how the old artists did what they did in order to get those tones to make,
Yes, a lot of happy accidents. Goes into doing this.
That's a good way to put it. So what age did you just start playing in the beer joints?
That would probably been because I got off into church, the good old Southern Baptist church. When I was a teenager, that was the only thing in that small town to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that derailed my life. Of course, I always listened to rockabilly, was always listening and trying to play, Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, and all this stuff. But then the only good thing I got out of church was being able to learn I could holler loud, draw a crowd, playing live.
Mm-hmm.
Then married into a very religious family, which that didn't last but about 14 years. But I had started playing, clubs some years before I, got out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I left the church, left the church, left any sort of hatred for other people behind.
It's funny how that works.
It's amazing.
Weird.
Yeah.
Strange.
Amazing how you can go into church and be all holy, and you're taught how to hate the proper people, the ones that aren't like you, because, obviously they're not, no, they don't worship the right, whatever it is they worship. So it's okay to hate them. And then after I got out of that, it was like, hold on, maybe all that stuff just wasn't right.
Yeah.
And look back.
Yeah, growing up in Ohio, mid Ohio.
Oh, my.
And
not even big city Hamilton, huh?
No, Mansfield, and bordering on Ashland. We had the Shawshank Redemption prison. Everybody in my school, like some people could drive their pickup trucks, and some people would drive tractors. Everybody had skull imprints in their back pocket, including the women.
Yes, they did.
And yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because I got into the Navy. When I was 21, I went and served my country, and all of a sudden I was around people that I'd never been around, and talking about things that I'd never talked about.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, people get insulated in their own little bubbles, then they watch their little insulated bubbly shows, and then they go to their little bubbly church, and before you know it, why, you're a closed-minded raving lunatic.
Yeah, confirmation bias feels warm and gooey. What can I say?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Nowadays, the only confirmation gooey bias I need is, well, no, we
I'm sure it's what
I've eaten way too much of this good Argentine food and drunk way too much of the good beer.
That is a song waiting to happen right there.
Yep. Oh, that's the other good thing about being in that religious mess for so long. It gave me so much material for songwriting and stories and just being able to handle people, because I know now when the God botherers come to bother me about whatever it is they want, I know exactly chapter and verse to send them packing with a smile on my face.
Yeah, from growing up in the church, I'm decently versed in that. It's really always interesting to find how many musicians, were, around the church, and then you get hip to the jive and you're like,
Conversely, going out and looking up these old rockabilly musicians from the 50s, usually they were either really cool or they were really religious and didn't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to go through the back door on that one. Well, I respect that. I really do. I'm working on, studying folk music. So how about your drummer? Is he around? No? Bass player? Well, yes, he lives over at so-and-so. Well, thank you. And then, that's where the unissued tapes and acetates and old guitars are.
Good manners will get you, pretty darn far.
Oh, talking about keeping stuff, back in 1989 or 90, on a beautiful day in Tupelo, Mississippi, I stopped at a gas station and met Jimmy Wages, Madman and Miss Pearl, and talked with him for a little bit. He was anorexic Elvis. He kept talking about he had a real bad bladder infection, and he drove a big Cadillac, and he was wired. About an hour later, I met over at the Waffle House. My daughter Chelsea always called it the Awful House. But I stopped and talked with Ray Harris. And Ray hardly blinked. He just bore holes through the back of your head telling you something, because by God, it was the truth as Ray saw it. And you were going to listen. And he told me the worst story on earth, at least for me. I asked him, what do you have left of all your stuff? He goes, well, a couple of years ago, I got tired of taking it from rent house to rent house, so I loaded it all up in my truck, took it to the Tupelo landfill. Acetates, records, tapes, everything. He said, next year, a British guy called and said, hey, listen, I've got $20,000-$30,000 if you want to sell all your stuff. He said, all I could do was cry.
Yeah.
So sometimes you didn't get anything but good stories out of these folks. Sometimes, though, like Jimmy Haggett, you got acetates, posters, autographs by Elvis, everything. went to see him 3 times, and it took all the money I had at the time, but it was well worth it.
So, like those old rockers, some of those old road stories from back in the day, when cars didn't have power steering and stuff, I hung out with Dickie and jammed with him, from Dickie Harrell that, has played with Gene Vincent.
Man, Dickie Harrell's the best.
Yeah, he's such a wonderful human being. We played some music.
He is.
And he told me some stories, and he once told me that Gene had gone to sleep in one of the dressing rooms. I guess he drank too much and was just laid down. Yeah. And the boys opened the window because it was, kind of wintry, and they thought that it'd be kind of funny to prank him. He'd wake up all cold and have to. So they left and they went drinking, I guess, and they came back. And he's laying there shivering under this pile of snow.
Jeez. I can see that, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that was, I think, I got my wife and I, the lovely Karina from Argentina, back in the early, I guess it's probably 2001, we played a show in Oklahoma with Big Al Downing. And after the show, the next morning, in the little motel thingy, we went and had breakfast, and there was Big Al Downing and his wife. So we sat there, and he was telling us stories about, being the only black member of a white rockabilly band created certain unique problems in the South. Mm-hmm. So they had a thing. They drove a big station wagon so that when they would go after a show, they'd drive to a local motel. Al would get in the back and roll up in this big carpet that they had. Yeah. And then the other 3 or 4 members would go into the place, book a room, and then carry the equipment into the room, and including Al wrapped up in a big carpet.
Yeah.
That's the only way they could do it.
It's just absolute insanity. And that there's still people to this day who are like, that's cool with me. I kind of want to go back that way. You're like, what?
That sounds like a pretty good idea. Oh, God.
What are you talking about?
Yes. Yeah, they are, I don't know. I don't believe in an afterlife, but if there were one, I might be down there as well, but I'll be laughing my head off at all those self-righteous types.
Oh, yeah, you and I will be so busy shaking hands, we won't have time to care.
And, all the smart people are going to be down there. All the physicists and scientists, engineers, it's going to be air conditioned by now.
I mean,
it's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, between all of the, I'm sure, economic trade politicians that made their way down there, I'm sure they brokered some sort of deal between Satan and, air conditioning.
Yeah, it was, it's a hell of a deal.
All the good music's down there, though, so I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Can you imagine going to heaven? And then if all these people I know who are all churchy, I can't wait to get to heaven. Really? You know what you're going to do there? Well, I mean, no, not what you think. You're going to literally 24/7 kneel, bow, sing, and praise.
Yep, and that's it.
To that one guy who wants to hear every bit of it, and you better not be off key or get thinking indecent thoughts about that little angel up ahead of you bending over and kneeling and such. You know.
Yeah, they'd always be like, your gift in heaven is that you get to praise God for eternity. Is there bathroom breaks or like what's do we do this in shifts? Oh boy.
Yeah. I guess porn's out of the question.
I mean, I've never really been one for jealous relationships.
Yes, and it says right in there, for he is a jealous God. Whoa.
Someone needs therapy.
Who else you been praising?
Yeah, I know. Someone needs a little cognitive behavior therapy.
Oh, Lordy. Yeah, that's how it was for me, though. Got out of that, dropped all the hatred and stuff, because where I was living, there was a lot of that stuff going on. got out of that, got out of there. And like you said, do some traveling.
Yeah. I mean,
can cure a multitude of bad attitudes and sins.
I mean, you played internationally, for quite some time. How did you, just get hooked up with, just the traveling, I suppose, I guess the ability to travel with an act to go play, decent enough festivals, because, you have to be invited. And I mean, you have the sound where I see why you're invited.
Yeah, and they make it worth your while. There's not a lot of money in rockabilly for sure, but free travel. They take good care of you.
Yeah,
usually
feed you, water you.
Comped for the most part.
Yeah. Give you a room, feed you, water you, give you a ride in a hot rod.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I get to meet people like Hayden Thompson. Ray
Campy,
all these great rockers and such. And come on, that's just marvelous. I got to hang out at Hemsby back in, I think, 01 with Sanford Clark and his guitarist, of course, Al, and just, shoot the shit with them. When did I ever think I'd be able to sit around and do that? Hang with cool people like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I started this podcast, is just kind of an excuse to get to do that.
Yeah. I've thought about starting a serial killer podcast, but there's too many of them already, and don't kind of really want to hang around those folks much.
No, I'm definitely, I'm not going to give the game away, but I have something else in the works happening that I'd love to have you on for.
Let me know. I'm in. You probably missed my my TV debut. Probably close to 10 years ago, I guess it was. I've got a friend, Randy. Yeah, Randy Reeves. I'll call his name. He is just a great soul that lives in Dallas. He's a great pusher, but I don't mean like dope. I mean, he can instigate me to do stuff that normally one would step back and think, now, really, should I? So he's always been into serial killers, studying them and, doing
crime.
Recreational Christianity, and going to see mega preachers and getting in good with them and just to document their shit. But he's got a original John Wayne Gacy painting up on the wall, one of his killer clowns, and Henry Lee Lucas watercolors, and these, and he would correspond with all of these, that he could. But he called me up one day, really, really in a rush. And he said, Mac, what? In 15 minutes, this lady's going to call you. You've got to get on the internet and learn everything you can about the black, let's see, the hand of death, not the black hand. That's the old mafia thing.
Yeah, that's
the hand of death.
Mafia.
I said, what's the hand of death? He goes, well, I'll tell you quickly, but turn on your computer. So in 12 minutes, I was conversant in it. It was a lady who was calling to see if she could get me to appear on the what was it, the Travel Channel, I think it was. It was National Park Mysteries.
Okay.
And so she asked all these questions. I said, first she said, Mr. Stevens. I said, who is this? Well, this so-and-so with National Park Mysteries. What are you calling about? Well, Randy Reeves, your friend. I said, that guy? And I just kept it going. She said, yes, he's wanting to know about this murder cult called the Hand of Death. And then I just stopped. Who are you again? And I got real quavery with the voice and such. And I let her talk me into talking about it. So just looking at the screen, I said, yes, they operate, in the Florida Everglades paramilitary murder schools where they kidnap kids and they teach them how to kill, and they recruit active serial killers, and they disappear and people and blah, 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 blah. So they flew me out there the next week. I left DFW at about 7 a.m. I was back home at 10 p.m., having gone down into Miami on the edge of some swamp where they filmed me. And they put it on the air. I think my best quote was, "In the Everglades, no one can hear you scream." And it was just great. I did my Brother Mack routine. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Brother Mack.
From the stage?
Well, for years and years, I had a YouTube channel that this other instigator, my son-in-law from England, Adam, he put me up to it, where I would do these YouTube little sermonettes, or I'd be driving around just, cosmic stream of bullshit, quasi-religious stuff. And so for years we did that. He's taken them all down because we've got my other YouTube channel, which I've pretty much abandoned now because there's no records to be found. So why should I buy old records if I can't buy old records? But we may put them all up. And we did those for years. And towards the end of, because I would just talk about all these things, all contradictory, doing the smarmy Southern Baptist type thing.
Yeah.
But then at the end, I was like, I'm going to just start praying to every God known. There's 3,429 of them. I would always change that number. And so we're going to pray. And I have this list of gods. It's like one Central American fertility god. I'd pray, give them 15 seconds to respond. Okay, they're off the list. And it was a whole lot of ha ha and hoo hoo until I got to the God of Israel and the Christians, and I gave him 16 seconds.
You
marked them off the list. After we stopped that channel, my son-in-law told me, over the years, you don't know, because he handled all of it, the death threats that I had been getting from various people.
Yeah.
It was amazing. He showed me a few, and I was like, oh, holy shit. So I'm hoping to go back into that. I hope he has everything on a server, so I'm hoping he'll load it all back up soon enough.
Those religious extremist folks, man, they got skin about as thin as a zigzag paper.
Oh, it's amazing. And, they call other people snowflakes, but I can take a lot more offense than they can. Unless you talk bad about Charlie Feathers or some such. No, I'm mad then.
Charlie Feathers is, and he taught me to hiccup.
Oh, there you go.
Plain and simple.
That
Charlie Feathers
glottal stop. Yeah. But that's, I'll do almost anything on a dare, and Randy was able to get me on national TV that way. And every now and then they'll rerun it somewhere, and I'll have somebody from, the little podunk school I went to that'll contact me. And they'll use my real name because they don't know me as Mack Stevens, and they'll say, "Steve, is that you?" "Yep, that's me." And then they don't know what to say after that because I was a nice kid in school.
Yeah, just recently because apparently we both seem to be a bit vocal when it comes to civil rights. I had somebody from my youth decide to come on my Facebook and try to clown me, and he discovered real quick that not only am I not the person that I used to be in my
youth, man, that was golden. I mean, not only did you beat him on the nose with a roll-up newspaper, you shoved his nose into his own waist and told him, no, that's not acceptable. And then you put him out in the yard where he was picked up by animal control, taken out, and put down. Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah, you took him to task, and you did it effortlessly. That was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I've been around too much of it. I already know that if you just don't have shame, they have nothing on you.
Yes. No, exactly.
It's like, oh no, you're bringing up some debaucherous past that I had. Apparently you don't know my personality. Yep.
And people change. I used to be a rather racist person. Well, got out of the religion, got out of the area I was living in and traveled, got over that shit real quick. In fact, I feel somewhat inferior to a lot of folks, but I'm having fun being inferior.
I get angry about all the things we weren't taught.
Yes, me too. Yes.
I get very angry.
So much good wisdom out there and good knowledge, and it's withheld. Pisses me off, too.
I mean, just things from American history that, kind of can help shape your understanding of your modern world, from everything from the Red Summer of 1919 to the Battle of Blair Mountain.
Yes. Yes. Now, Blair Mountain, that's the one where U.S. troops were used against striking workers.
Yeah, against coal miners.
Yeah. I did a deep dive into that a few years ago. Good Lord. You still pick up 30 caliber machine gun bullet casings out there in the woods.
Yeah,
from that.
But
and then what they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tulsa. Good God.
I've got a daughter who's leaving Tulsa. In a couple of months, moving out towards bigger and better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a son that lives there in Tulsa, and they're not from there originally. I'm half Okie. My dad was Oklahoma. My mom was Arkie. But I've got a friend that lives there in Tulsa who's been doing a lot of research on that, and he has found stuff.
Yeah.
And they've either come out with a big book on that, or they're just about to, or as we say in Texas, they're fixing to. Come out with a book on this. And a lot of people do not want this published.
Oh, I'm sure, because a lot of people don't want to be like, oh, Meemaw is in that photo.
Yep.
Now we have to explain. I mean, that's the reason why we have to whitewash American history so badly, is because we don't want to embarrass Meemaw.
That's it. Meemaw. Ugh. And even after they're dead. I don't know. I was listening to a podcast last night about Coco Chanel.
Yeah.
The turns things go to, but you're talking about her early life, and part 2's coming up where they talk about where she gets into the Nazi thing.
Yeah.
And then also you have places like Bear Aspirin, IBM.
Mm-hmm.
The Holocaust couldn't have happened without IBM, because they had the system for keeping track of all the inmates and everything. They made it easy, but we can't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Eichmann was the one who put all that on the schedule, sadly.
Well, Eichmann, you mean the one who lived not far from where I'm sitting right now?
That one.
Garibaldi Street?
Yeah.
He had that.
That one.
Yeah, it's a vacant lot now. I drove by there.
Man.
Because I had finished a book, 7 or 8 years ago. I was reading it on the flight over here once, called Finding Eichmann, which was the history of that. And it was it was astonishing. Yeah, can't bring up a whole lot of things apparently, though.
Yeah, I can't. You can't hurt that fragility.
Oh my, good old fragile people.
Anything but that. So, dude, what's up with this new record you got coming out?
Well, I've got. I think I've put out more records in this genre than anybody else, or more releases. I'm somewhere north of 50 different releases. Woo. Whether it's 45, LP, 78, even I've put out some 78s.
Nice.
CD, cassette. I haven't done much with downloads, but I'm selling those apparently. I'm starting to get notifications of some selling in some platform that I've forgotten about. But a couple of years ago, I put out my favorite, that aforementioned 10-inch LP on Freedonia Records, Best Rockin' Place. I got a lot of those left, but hardly any way to ship them out because the shipping things from Argentina is not safe.
Yeah.
Getting things sent to me is pretty difficult, too. They nail you in the customs pretty bad if it arrives. Other than that, I just love this country. But just this last year, I had on my bucket list, I always wanted to have a release on Rollin' Rock, done that. And then Bear Family.
Yeah.
Bear Family put out an
I saw
LP.
that.
And it's called Ain't That Right? unconventional look at Sun Records, because I did a lot of the lesser known songs on Sun, but not as straight covers. I did the most known song on there is So Doggone Lonesome, the Johnny Cash song. But I did it in the style that, say, if Sonny Fisher at Starday had picked up on it. So you have, a rockabilly, and a lot of it's just guitar, bass, and guitar. A few songs have drums. Then I did my own versions of Tiger Man, Eddie Snow's Ain't That Right, done in a rockabilly version, a slow hillbilly version of Jimmy and Walter's Before Long. So, and it's selling well. And so they're wanting to do another thing with another group I've got called Los Paganos del Ritmo, the Rhythm Pagans, all home recorded, off the wall, just dark, weird stuff.
Cool.
And so hopefully that will come out. They've got the material. They've just got to tell me what songs they're releasing so I can, under a different name, write up the damn liner notes and send some pictures. And that should be coming out. So, but what we've got coming up now, I've just recorded another session with Los Paganos del Ritmo. That's me, Fernando Coto on his magical singing guitar, and Path 13 on slap bass fiddle.
Cool.
And we just record. Now we're using my little studio, but always we've recorded in just in a house, apartment, or something like that. And on occasion, for my releases, I'll use Pablo Hadid's King Studio in beautiful Buenos Aires. And he's a guy with a digital studio that can make it sound analog, and it's wonderful. So, it's good to know people can use that stuff wisely.
Yeah, yeah.
I also have an LP coming out, this month in April. It's coming out of all places, Germany. Got a lot of releases that seem to come from there, so that's great. But this one is on Swamp Hunter Records. It's a brand new label started out by Alex Petrauskas, and it's more of a folk thing. It's just my guitar, harmonica, and my melodious voice. Melodious, there's a lot of something. But anyway, it's got some really cool, weird songs, some harmonica Frank type harmonica things going on. It's just a great swirly whirly mess of home recorded stuff. Very limited pressing. I think maybe a couple of 100 copies at the most. So yeah, you might really want to check that one out. It's going to be fun.
And then I've got my Sons of Sam stuff we're recording, and so I've heard that there's a couple of pressing plants here in the Buenos Aires area somewhere. And I really need to find out who they are, what they charge. Can I ship the stuff out and get it, distributed? So it's kind of like doing missionary work here.
Yeah.
Except it's more doggy half the time, though.
You're spreading the actual good word.
Absolutely. And I really look at it as being like a musical missionary. A lot of times, with the country scene, people here, like, a lot of other international places. I don't like saying foreign countries. I'm the foreigner here.
Right.
And they think country music is Garth Brooks,
I get it.
Well, no. Let's go back to Hank Williams on up. Everybody loves Johnny Cash, so that's your foot in the door right there. But then you ease it open with Hank, and Hank was popular here in the 50s, I find, in 78.
Right, yeah. You start bringing
and then,
bringing in,
you start bringing in, Charlie Feathers and things like that.
Pee Wee King covers.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm recording Western Swing over at Pablo Hadid's King Studio off and on for the last couple of months.
I do love me some Western Swing.
He's got real professional musicians doing this. I mean, these guys that know what they're doing. It's weird.
It's got to be pretty great.
But I like it. For me, it's just kid in the candy store here, come out here and work in the studio or sit around and do nothing, but I'm happy here. And it's a fairly stress-free life. I recommend it if, all we had to do was just sell the house, sell the cars. I've applied for Social Security, so that'll start coming in pretty soon. I'm happy about that.
Oh yeah, ain't nothing better than a little bit of mailbox money every month.
Yes. And if you've got dollars, this is the place to be.
Yeah. I'm sure you live like a king.
Yeah. Well, when I married Karina back in '98, it was 1 peso to $1.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's 397 as of today, pesos to the dollar. And it's gasoline here is about $2 a gallon. It's just amazing. The beef, the meat is high quality and dirt cheap. Same for the fruits and vegetables. A whole lot higher quality than you'll ever see in the States.
Mm-hmm.
That price just makes your jaw drop.
That's how it is here in Germany too. The very first time I went into into the Metzger, into the actual real butcher, just looking behind the counter like, oh my Lord. The same with the bakeries too,
Yeah, that's what I noticed when I went to Germany a couple of years ago. Been there a couple of times. I was astonished at how good the grocery prices were.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, man, just on this, it's worthwhile.
Yeah,
it was wonderful. The booze and everything seemed to be a lot cheaper than Texas. Texas, it's too expensive there to live. Just in the States in general now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw up my hands, said, let's sell out and go. Karina had been Americanized by then, but she said, okay, now she's glad we've come back.
Mm-hmm.
We landed here, there at the port, burned our ships to the waterline so we couldn't go back.
I can get behind that.
Planted the flag of Freedonia Records right there.
Yeah.
In the city.
I completely recommend everybody do that at least once in their life. I showed up to Germany with a guitar and a suitcase,
Wow.
I left. How
long have you been there?
I've been here a little over 2 years now. I had to go back to America for 3 months because of visa things. But then I came back here, and Tamara and I got married in Denmark. And
wow.
Yeah, it was gorgeous in the island of Ærskobing. And
man, you're there permanently now, though, aren't you?
Yeah. I am a German. I got my Atzvai A2 German certificate, and I'm about to take 300 more hours.
I've got my DNI, my Argentine one.
Yeah, I'm telling you, being an older American, learning a foreign language is not programmed for us.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
If you don't mind saying.
I'm 41.
Oh my. I remember 41. That was 21 years ago almost.
Ain't that something?
Oof. Yeah, but learning a foreign language when you're older, it can be nigh impossible. I can read it all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my translator on my phone, which helps.
Yeah.
But understanding it was spoken, especially the Argentines, nobody cusses or has better slang on earth than the Argentines. It's a fact. They've got this thing called lumfardo, which has been around for 150 years. It's been refined, and it's just with gestures or 2 or 3 words, the meaning that is conveyed, the insults, the derision, the compliments. It's just wonderful and my drummer's a master of this stuff.
Fantastic.
Charlie.
So
it's like, he's trying to teach me.
So it's like the South American version of Scottish, where it's just verbal skirmish in the streets.
Yes. Oh man. Yes, absolutely. And of course they took a lot of hand gestures from the Italians, because a lot of folks here are Italian.
Yeah.
And they just mixed it all up to this remarkable, somebody like me, if I try to have verbal warfare, I'm going in unarmed. So I don't. I get along. I sometimes I'll play the stupid American and just smiling, nod my head a lot.
Yeah, it's I can speak. I I can convey what I need to convey in German. Conversationally, it's still a bit hard. I got 300 more hours before I can really conversationally do that. I'll get my B1 certificate. But the thing is being able to listen to people who are used to speaking it, because, you know, as we know, that to use a foreign language, you have to use it. That's just it. Like,
exactly.
But
you're not going to learn it and then just keep it up in there. It's got to be practice.
Yeah, I mean, I have conversations with myself in my head in German. It's absolutely insane. Like every time I look at an object, I'm immediately running it through and turning it into what the German name for that object is, because it also has to have a gender, because German, every word is gendered differently.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's it's interesting, because also that gender depends on your sentence structure as well. So
man, that's a lot of rules, and some of the words are 2 miles long. It's not like in Wales, but it's pretty close sometimes.
Yeah, Wales had the great the great vowel shortage.
Yep. Yeah, that's an absolute fact. Man, so I'm not sure how often I'll be going out of Argentina and playing.
Mm-hmm.
I told my wife, if it's a really, really great offer, I'll do it. But I always wanted to leave the States and, you know, go out and play. Now I'm kind of like, I've already played in Chile before,
mm-hmm.
Chile, and in up north in Brazil a couple of times or so.
Right.
But just, I don't know. I want to develop this area. I want to start playing more into the interior, get out away from the big city. We live, probably about 35 or so miles outside of the capital. And I want to go way off into the south or up to the northwest. Not up in Rosario. It's too dangerous up there. That's the only real dangerous area I know of in Argentina. It's gets up there where Paraguay and Brazil and all that comes together.
Are the police fairly ethical?
Well, I hadn't had any run-ins with them, but the interactions I've had, oh man, I love them. They're great here, the police. I don't feel like I'm going to get beaten, murdered, or anything like that.
Nice.
That's nice. They're very respectful, very helpful folks, really. And so that's been a relief, you know. Some years back, I was driving, back in 2008, I was driving not far from my mother-in-law's place, just outside of the, capital, literally 200 meters away from the highway that separates the provincia from the capital. Well, there's this big, huge, small town / apartment complex called Fuerte Apache. It's dangerous. They don't put the police ringing it. They put the military. It's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Well, that's where my mechanic lived for this stupid little Renault 19 that ran hot. So I drove on in the daytime to go see him. Well, that was the same day a soldier was killed, shotgun slaying, about 2 hours before. So I'm in there, and I start to leave, and the police come up, and they wanted identification, checked under the car, checked in the trunk. I was hand gesturing, explaining to, my mechanic was explaining. He didn't fix it right either, it kept running hot. And then I showed him my Texas driver's license. That kept me there another 30 minutes while they just tried to dope out. And then they realized, okay, yeah, this is legal. You're allowed to drive it with this. Okay, you have a nice day. I said, I'm sorry for your loss. You have a great day too, sir. So very, very good police here. That's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I imagine, especially coming from Texas.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, where we lived in beautiful Balch Springs some years ago, about 2 blocks from our house, there was a house party going on, teenagers. And 3 or 4 teenagers, African-American teenagers were driving away from the party, not speeding, when some police arrived. One of the police pulled out an AR-15 or whatever it was they were carrying, but I'm pretty sure it was that. and put a bullet through one of them's head from behind.
Yeah.
And then tried to claim that he was coming right for us.
Yeah.
No. Balch Springs did the right thing. They immediately fired him, arrested him, and he's in prison. This was pretty remarkable. I think he only got 15 years, but that's 15 more years than I would have bet he would have gotten.
Yeah.
And that's what we were used to having to deal with, though, where, in Texas was either people are shooting at you on the highway for looking at them funny, or the police were doing that,
Yeah, I mean,
instead of just other drivers.
Without naming names of any kind, I was once privy to going to the clubhouse of a motorcycle club, and there were several members bragging about their status as law enforcement officers.
Oh man!
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's like the old thing: those that work forces burn crosses, or something like that. There's other civic groups, I guess you'd say, fraternal groups.
Yes, exactly. Fraternal groups, indeed.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, man, you got any websites, any addresses? Now's the time to get those plugs in, brother.
Oh, I've got a YouTube channel which has been going strong for about 3 years or more, called I Buy Old Records, and that's on the tube of views. And but I've put precious little content up lately because since we moved to Argentina, my son-in-law, who did all my editing and all, he's got other stuff he's having to do. They're moving. I think I mentioned my daughter's moving. That's her husband. And his work is changing, so he's unable to do that. So it's just kind of sitting fallow now. Don't have any real way of putting anything new up, and there's no records here for me to buy. And then I've got a brand new one I've just started called Mack Stevens Original Songs, or something like that. It's just where I'm putting up originals. I've recorded well over 600 songs in my life, and I'm starting to put the originals that I've written myself up there. And I'm not sure what platform, but I'm going to start something. I live just outside of a town called Pilar, and I'm going to start the Pilar Jamboree. And hopefully once a month, I'm going to put a 30-minute to an hour-long program of music, rockabilly, country, whatever. If I like a band, I'll feature them on there. And we're going to start doing that. Black and white, make it look, old and crappy.
Right. Put a little dust and some
scratches that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the usual Facebook, Instagram crap. Easy enough to find. And I've got rid of all my Sun records. That was a thing. That's the second Sun collection I've sold in my life. So that helped finance the move here. But I've got a good Sun record group on Facebook if anybody likes that sort of thing. I think it's called Sun Records with Mack Stevens. Look that up if you like it. And it's a nice place. I don't countenance rude people. Just like the guy in Lonesome Dove. I can't tolerate rude people. Just can't.
Neither could Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, wow, the free-range rude.
Right, rudeness is a plague upon society.
Yes. Yeah, I had a nightmare that he was pursuing me one time. Every time I turn around, yes, it was in this big, I still remember it vividly. It's been 10 years. I was in this big, like an office building where you can see into other rooms because everything's glass. He was like 5 rooms away, looking at me through the glass, unblinking. Every time I'd go through a door, close it, and turn around, he'd be 1 room closer. When I woke up, he was on the other side of that glass, and he had that straight, just that marvelous smile when he said, "I cannot smell your cunt, Clarice." He had that same grin, almost grin.
If you watch that entire
and I woke up at that point.
That entire performance, he doesn't blink once.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just, and I like the TV series. Oh, Mads did a great job as Hannibal.
Yeah.
But for me, wow, it's really, really hard to beat.
I gotta totally give props to Hannibal Rising too. The young actor that played young Hannibal knocked it out of the park.
He was good. Yes. That movie got short shrift, I think. I really liked that. I liked the book. A lot of people shat on the book. I really enjoyed the book. Thomas Harris is great.
Yeah, Thomas Harris is wonderful.
When he gets to take his time, he's the best there is at that sort of thing.
Mac, this has been a great conversation, dude. This has been
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you started recording yet, or when do we start the interview?
I've been recording this whole time, brother.
Well, I'm glad I didn't say anything blasphemous or fucking dirty.
Well, if you did, I would make sure not to edit it out.
Thank you so much. I'd hate to be sanitized. That's the worst thing on earth, is to be sanitized.
Nothing like getting defanged and declawed is certainly a great way to neuter someone's personality.
Ooh, my cat turned around and looked at me when she heard the word declawed.
No, we don't do that.
Well, man, thank you so much. Let me know when this gets thrown up or expelled onto the air.
Absolutely. It'll be not too far away. I think there's maybe one episode ahead of you right now.
Works for me.
Dude, Mac, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to have to do this again, and you're getting me thinking about possibly having to visit Argentina.
Come on by. We've got a little compound here. We've got room. We've got cages. We've got crawl spaces, and then we've got other places.
Might just have to find somewhere with some sand, with little cocktails with tiny straw hats.
That sounds like heaven to me.
Doesn't it, though?
It do. Well, I'm going to go eat. Karina said she's making us some empanadas or something like that. And
well, tell the missus I said hello. And thank you so much for coming on, Mac. This has been a pleasure.
Anytime, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, you take care of yourself.
Hey.
All right. That'll be all for today. Remember, peace, love throughout the world, and don't forget to rock and roll.